you laughing about, buddy? What's going on? These are sophisticated experts on end capping. Let me introduce them to you. On my far right, we have Damon, who is a local here from Las Vegas and does a lot of very low moisture process and is on the Backway forums. He's an admin administrator there, moderator. Damon, anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, that sums it up.
That sums it up? Okay, we'll get more from you. We'll get more from you a little bit, and then just to the left of him is John Gherking. Trinity, you can see his products there, really good-looking products. And John's been around since the 70s, right? 74. John, anything else you'd like to add on to your resume there? I know your bio's pretty.
Oh yeah, basically I've just been. I've used several different methods, but basically I've been OP, oscillating pad machine, since '74, and all we've done now over the last year is just trying to further it. That's what we do.
Okay, all right, great. And then next to him is Damien Lucero. Damien's been in for about 18 years. Worked with Coit, ABM. All that, and now does a lot of end capping. That's really what you're doing now. What else are you doing, Damien?
I'm a carpet guy. I get dirty floors clean, and I do whatever it takes to do it. I do a lot of hot water extraction. I do a lot of encapsulation, and I blend them both. And what I have the opportunity to do for my clients is take care of the problems that other people can't. And I use whatever it takes, and a lot of times it will be in cap.
Okay. All right, great. So then we'll get into that some more. And then last but not least is Kelly Love. Now Kelly's pretty interesting background because you were doing carpet installation, and then you did truck mount, you did hot water extraction with portables. Okay. So how does that play a role into your experience there?
Well, I started off, as an installer and working with carpet that way, and then that's a lot louder. I had a truck mount. I started off the truck mount and had that for about a year, and then switched over to dry carpet cleaning. And for me, it was really, once I switched over to the dry carpet cleaning, it was more of it was for my customers' sake. They seemed to like the drier carpet, and so I just went with the method that they seem to prefer. So that's how I got into dry carpet cleaning, and I've been doing it for about 22 years now.
Okay. So actually, just between these four guys, there's a large amount of years of experience. So it'll be interesting to get their viewpoint on the questions that we have. And in your program, you can kind of read their bios. They're pretty. I think they're pretty impressive. I thought they're impressive, and then I looked at my bio. I was like, man, I should have. Their stuff looks good. And mine's like, he went to work with his dad when he was little. So I really like my bio. So I wrote a new one. Here's my bio now. Every so often, an individual comes along with the grace and intelligence and ability to change an industry for the better. Paul is not one of those individuals. In fact, he can barely read or write. So there's my bio. All right. Let's get on to. Hey, we're gonna have some fun. So here's what we're gonna do. I kind of broke the questions down. Instead of the questions being all over the place, we're gonna have a little bit of structure to the questions. So it's gonna be a question about just the overview. Just briefly, what is end capping? How does it work? And we'll get into certain chemical questions, and then we'll get into processes, and we'll get into maintenance. So we'll keep it on fairly logical structure as much as we can. So here's a question, and you guys pick who you want to answer, and we'll just pass the mic back and forth. And don't forget to hold the mic up so we can hear you. Okay, briefly, what is the encapsulation process, and where typically is it applied?
Everywhere. You know, we hear a lot, especially on the boards, guys will talk about, well, I would never use that in residential. Well, problem is, either end cap works or it don't. We've been end capping now. First, for many years we pad capped. I was not a big fan of the end cap. And when we had the I don't know if you all understand this, but 3/8 Orbits machines, which is now the industry standard, we pad capped. In other words, we would use an end cap product, whether it be in residential or commercial, but we would use several pads to bring up the bulk of the soil so the end cap was not left to do it all. And I can't even tell you, I mean, we did this by testing over and over, but I didn't understand until years later when we built the new machines why that was. And if we didn't pad cap, it would have to be rinsed. A year or two down the road, you'd have to rinse it. When we got to the higher speed machines, we were actually able to have agitation at a level we could strip the fiber. Now we could straight in cap. Until then, we never did. And but when you can have enough agitation, I don't care if it's residential or commercial carpet, once you've mixed the soil, the moisture, and the end cap polymer together and have made, for lack of a better word, a soup, that soup itself will dry, crystallize, shatter, and come up as particulate soil. So whether it's residential, commercial, it really doesn't matter. I won't go any longer than that. How's that?
Sounds good. Anybody else want to add?
Anyone? So here's a question, and really, if I ask stupid questions, it's because I don't know. I'm not an end cap guy. I'm a portable guy. I know extractors. I know equipment. So the end capping, is it typically commercial or can it be used residential?
People up here use it across the board. Me personally, I use end cap almost exclusively commercially. Am I going to say it's wrong to use residentially? No, I prefer to use it commercially because I think that's where it absolutely shines. I have a very large extractor. It really sucks. On commercial carpet, it's not going to shine. End cap will. I actually have commercial accounts that we clean while these retail stores are open. They're actually these very large mattress stores. There's several hundred of them. And we just go out location to location. And while they're selling mattresses 10 feet away, we're cleaning the carpet. We can do 3 or 4 or 5 locations. There aren't hoses, there's no noise. We put these awesome new little fans down across any transition areas where somebody could slip. And it's extremely profitable and it works. I have carpet that we've cleaned for 10 years and it looks great. I also have a proving ground. I have a facility that we clean once a month and they're filthy hallways. And I get to test all kinds of different products and different methods. I have, I think, 4 different types of encapsulant machines. Basically, they're agitators. And I've kind of found what's sweet for what we do. You had a question?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. What delivery system are you using?
Just so everyone could hear, he was asking on the delivery system, right? How it's applied and things like that. Okay, the application.
So I find the sweet spot for me, for the most part, is I like OP. I think OP is extremely versatile. It also depends on what we're doing. A cylindrical brush machine is pretty awesome as well. I think it does a very good job of digging soil up and out. A Cymex is awesome. We actually use a Cymex in large commercial where we're doing a restorative process, where we'll go out, we'll pre-treat with a regular hot water pre-spray, then we'll go through, we extract it with a zipper, and then we'll polish it with end cap. And that is by far, I find, the best way to clean because we're maximizing the benefits of each system. But I'd say overall it's an OP. It gives me the most versatility. I can scrub like the daylights. I can put down absorbent pads to take care of the really heavily soiled transition areas entryways coming in and out of kitchens and things like kitchens isn't a very good one, but where you're going to have that really heavy traffic that's going to have the deep-seated soils. For me, it's versatility.
Yeah. So now we're talking that this is a process that was like started, I mean, in the 70s, right? And John, you'll probably have some insight on this.
I wasn't born.
How has it?
Yeah. Well, Chris can testify here. When I got on the boards about 20 years ago, I was pond scum. How could you clean carpet like that and wipe the floor with diapers? That's pretty much what it was about, right? And we got trashed a lot. But we started this thing called Summerfest, and several of us went there, and it was amazing how many guys would dabble in it and try it. When they tried it, they liked it. It sounds goofy to a lot of hot water guys that you can clean carpet with pads, but we're all using the cleaning pie. It's just that we're making the A real big. We're putting in a lot of agitation. I always use this example, and I know some guys use shampoo your hair, but I have a dark red Dodge pickup, and out on the farm I get her pretty dirty, and I can pressure wash her 2,500. She looks like $1 million. But when she's dry, I can see where all the dirt was. I take a towel and wipe it off, and it's gone. So you got to understand, both of these things have their purpose. Agitation makes a lot. I don't care if you're agitating and then extracting. If you're extracting and then polishing up, like he said, the combination's awesome. Or each one of us can take the method to the extreme and do it all. It doesn't matter. When you're done with the job, if you got a customer that's pleased to write a check, it's going to call you back, you've done your job, no matter how you do it.
Okay. So you're thinking, agitation has been the big change since, okay, gotcha. Okay, let's move on to chemicals then. And we'll get some questions just kind of focusing on the different types of chemicals, the polymers and stuff like that. So here's a question. How do you determine a good end cap polymer over another? I mean, are they relatively the same, or promote whatever you want? I don't really care. They're not the same.
No,
how do you know? How does a guy know?
I'm going to start by saying, play with it. It goes back to, personally, I have a proving ground. They're medical offices, they're corridors that get vacuumed when I go and clean. And it gives me a really great place to throw down different products, test new processes, test machines. And I have a client that doesn't know any better. And every time that they go check it, it's awesome. But I get to walk through and say, wow, that spot came back. Or this looks really dingy for having been cleaned 30 days ago. So I think it's really get out there, put them down, see how they resoil, see how they cut. Another thing that is a really great idea is to rotate different products out. One polymer will tend to break out better here, but do this better. Some of the peroxide products can give you a little bit more brightening, but will resoil a little bit faster. And by rotating them out, you have these fibers that get a good array of very efficient cleaners that are going to do well in one segment, maybe more than the other will do in another.
So I see that, Damon, you're shaking, you're like kind of nodding in agreement. What are you thinking on that?
No, I agree. It's all about trial and error, and definitely if you're doing residential, low moisture like I do a lot of, in addition to commercial, you'll find that there are specific chemicals that work great in commercial and others that you use exclusively in residential. So it is all about trial and error and trying products from basically the three big manufacturers. You have Bonnet Pro, Release It, and Vacaway. I mean, they're the three largest of the in-cap chemical producers. So I would suggest to anybody to try them all, find what works best for you, and stick with it. It takes time. Anybody who hasn't done low moisture, especially in residential, it's definitely a learning curve. It's not like putting on a wand and sucking it out and hoping you get it dry fast enough. It's just a lot of different products, a lot of different pads, and frankly, a lot of different machines as well. So give it a chance, give it time. Yes, sir.
Are you guys okay, Sharon?
Yeah,
So
I
here's-
use Backaway. I've used all of them. I tried them all, but I've always used Backaway. It's a great product. I've had the most amount of success with it. Very little in the way of wick backs or anything of that nature. And he's always innovating. He's always coming up with new products. They all are, but I'm just a Backaway guy. He's my man. So.
Yeah, and I use PadCap Pro. Years ago, when Steve's first started, I made chemicals for Steve, and Steve made chemicals for me. And when we went into the pad capping, him and I spent a lot of time together in Nashville. And my chemical of choice is PadCap Pro. It's because it uses a certain type of nanotechnology for the cleaning product. And then on the polymer, instead of using a carpet, what would normally be used as a carpet cleaning industry polymer, we use one that's about 7 levels of refinement higher from the cosmetic industry. One thing that I've always pushed for with our end cap is I want a real strong crystal. In other words, when you've made that soup, I want that crystal to expand and shatter. And that's what ours does. That makes the particulates easier to vacuum out. And that's important for people. We also have a test ground. We use Jif peanut butter in Lexington. If you eat Jif peanut butter, it comes from Lexington. They go through about 1 million pounds a day. They had never gotten, before we started, they'd never gotten 5 years out of a carpet. And one of our first high-speed test machines we put in there, and they've been straight end capping now for 11 years. And we do it once a month, and it's full of peanut oil. And that carpet is still beautiful after 11 years. So it does not always have to be rinsed. It depends on the chemical for the job. And it depends, I've always preached oscillation. But test everything for yourself. Even us, don't listen to us. Go home and test it. Test it for yourself, because then you know. Otherwise, you think. But if you do it yourself, you know. Steve Smith is the one who owns Backaway. Yeah, and Steve and I have been friends for years. I had to change him from a rotary guy to an OP guy.
So in terms of what I use most, I'm a Steve Smith guy. He's a mad scientist, truly, and loves it. I use his hot knife primarily these days. I think Release It has got a great product, incredible service as well. I'm very big on, I want concentrated product. I don't want to put 4 and 6 and 8 ounces into a gallon for ready to use, and I want to get things as concentrated as I can, because shipping water does nothing for me. Carrying water jugs in my truck does nothing for me. Having said that, certain products, especially the peroxide carried products, there's only so much peroxide you can put in, especially with shipping. Having said that, I use a number of different products. I also use polymer spotters. And our hot water extraction, doing corners and edges, we'll use actually a lot of in-cap product there, and it works great. Especially for that little tiny corner behind the door that's always black. There's nothing better than carrying a little bottle of spotter, squirting it down and wiping it out. It looks perfect. Another thing that we do, we leave every single client, and on a commercial job, we'll leave multiple. We leave them a bottle of our branded spotter, which is an in-cap. It's a great way to keep your name in front of a client. I think our spotter is awesome, but I also think that if I gave them water, they would love it too, because I gave it to them, and they would believe in it. We get so many calls, hey, can you drop off a bottle? No, I'm sorry, we can't. We give it to you with service. We'll never charge for it. If you want an extra one, we're there. Happy to do it. But it's a great way for your client to remember you. Especially when that emergency happened. They look at the bottle and they think of you, and you get the call.
Kelly, what do you like as far as chemical?
I primarily use dry compound and a non-polymer pre-spray, but then I also have a whole line of end caps with polymer base. It just really depends on, like these guys were saying, with the situation. Mostly on commercial carpet, I'll just end cap it, but if I'm doing residential, I'll use compound and pre-spray. But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always buying anytime I go somewhere. Hey, try this. I mean, I've got a graveyard of chemicals in my garage that some I love and some I don't, and and some been sitting there for a long time full, so. What's that? Okay, so I'm doing a dry compound cleaning. So what I would do is come in vacuum first. I'm going to put down a pre-spray, All Green Natural Spot Remover pre-spray, and then I'll put a dry compound down. It's made out of wood pulp flour, some have corn husk in them, but it's a super absorbent compound that has a cleaner in it. So our pre-sprays run about 9%, 9.5 on our pre-spray, and then our compound is 5.5. So the theory is it's going to pull it back to a pH neutral by the time we're done. We have another product that's we've been testing here lately, that it's an all raw mineral compound, a raw mineral product. So it's pH neutral green, but it's one of the strongest spotters pre-sprays that I've tried. Oh, with the CRB machine, counter rotating brush machines.
Okay. Good. Hey, you know what? Let's can we get a hand mic going? So there you go. Okay, we'll get a hand mic going. Okay, we've got a couple questions back here. Caden, let's head back that way.
Okay, I have a Cymex and a Brush Pro that I use for my wash pit for scrubbing rugs. I have a chance to do some hallways in a major business building, and so I want to try it out. Never used NCAP before. Set me up. What do I get? Like I said, I have a Brush Pro and I have a Cymex machine. So set me up. What do I use?
Go to Vacaway. There we go. All right. So go to Vacaway.com, order the sample box. It's $8, and that'll give you a wide array of product and shoes. Start with that. You can also reach out to Release It. They offer a sample box, and I think even Bonnet Pro. That's your first step. You have the machines, so you're good for that. Vacuum first. Do a great job for your vacuum. I would use the Cymex personally. Try the CRB as well. Go side by side, but I mean, it's just a question of chemical at this point. Experiment with it. Hot Knife Extreme works really well in commercial, and that would be my go-to. Typically with the Cymex would be the fiber pads for in-capping. Some people use the brushes. What are you using?
I personally prefer pads. Pads give you more contact with the floor. There's more surface area to agitate. A Cymex is 10 minutes and you're a master. It's really simple. Yeah, if you've ever mowed a lawn, you know how to run a Cymex. One thing I'll say with NCAP, especially coming from a hot water side, a lot of times less is more in terms of moisture. With the Cymex, depending on the product you're using, you want a nice white thin film of foam to develop behind you. I would start one pass wet, one pass dry, depending on the soil levels. And what I find most of the time when I'm encapsulating and teaching a new guy how to do it, the most difficult thing is cord management, believe it or not. Because you'll get yourself caught up in your cord. And if there's something I can say, leave the cord on the clean side. It sounds a little odd, but as you're ripping down these long corridors, leave the cord behind you, run the side where you're plugged into, go the length, and then always turn away from that cord. Sounds a little odd, but once you do it, you'll get it. That is the most difficult thing that I found with NCAP. It's literally that simple.
Let's get one more question here, and then we'll move on to more of a processes and equipment type question.
Here's my question is, you're talking about in-capping, and I guess as I listen, is in-capping product? Is in-capping machine? If I use an in-cap product through hot water extraction, am I in-capping?
I don't know if that's a defined answer, but I'm going to say in-capping for the most part, I'm going to take it as you're putting a product down that will release itself from a fiber, primarily working with agitation. and some sort of either extraction, meaning you're going to vacuum it, or absorption with a pad. I would not classify an encapsulant pre-spray as encapping. That's me, and I'm not going to say that somebody that really wanted to argue something else would be wrong, but that's going to be my interpretation.
It's not going to encap. If you're rinsing it out, it's not going to encap, no. It's got to be left in the carpet. That's the purpose of it. Because that's what you're mixing with the soil and the water and the carpet. If you rinse it out, you don't have that polymer, there's nothing to make it. First of all, the polymer will go around the soil. It will also coat the fiber. And you'll hear with encapping, you don't have problems with reoccurring stains. Well, the reason is because they're not compatible anymore. And then if you have a good, and that's what we've always said, is use a good, strong crystal. When they go to the bottom of the carpet, they expand and shatter. Now you have particulate. And the sorry little fact is the people who care, vacuum it, it all comes up. People who don't, it goes down and stays there. But the carpet itself, the fibers, they're clean. And if they even vacuum only once a week, they will bring that up. It's not difficult to bring up encap because it's not held to the fiber like your soils were. They were stuck because of this or that. With the encap, it's slippery and it'll come right off.
So let's talk. Any equipment questions on type of equipment you want to use?
Oh, can I add one thing?
Yeah, sure. And then Caden will head over this way.
As we're professional cleaners, something that I think is really important. There's this really awesome thing called a measuring cup. It works really, really well. It's actually a graduated cup. It's got a bunch of little lines, typically marked in ounces. And if you use this wonderful device with your cleaning products, you'll find a lot of times they work really, really well at a lot lower dilution than you think. There are times that I will bump my product dilution way down because I want a stronger product. But measure your product, you'll save a ton of money. You'll find that they work really, really well on the lower dilution ratios. The other thing is you get this really awesome thing when you look in your measuring cup and you use an encapsulant and you look down and it's like, what's that? And you go like that and all your polymer literally falls out of the cup. And that's when you used it the day before and it's had a chance to really dry out. It gives you a really good indication of what that polymer is doing on the fiber. I actually get these really awesome, they're silicone measuring cups. And you can actually even stick it in your back pocket. But when you use that, just the polymers pop off the cup and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Okay. All right, let's, change of plans. Let's just go with your questions then. Yours are probably better than mine. Caden, let's get this gentleman here with the hat, please. And then I know we've got some questions on this end.
What would be your guys' opinion of the difference of pad capping and end capping?
Well, pad capping, end capping, we do a lot of testing with the fibers when we do this. Like I said, up until and this is talking of us personally, who always use OP, up until we came out with our Trinity machines, we always pad capped because still had stuff on them. Okay, so we were using the pads to bring a bunch of this up so that the end cap can do its job. Now we do straight end capping, but that's only because the machines now are a much larger orbit, and now when we take that third picture, there's nothing on it. And that's what's important. If you can get everything off, just like there's several machines out there that end cap, but if they don't really strip the fiber of everything, they can do a good job and last quite a while, but you will find yourself rinsing them down the road. If you can strip those fibers, then it's particulate, can be vacuumed up, then you do not need to rinse down the road. Actually, when I'm doing straight end cap on commercial, I'm using a fiber pad. When I'm end capping on residential, I always use a glad pad because when you have something so absorbent, if you're not pulling it off by agitation, just the absorption can help pull it out. Because the goal, like I said, is to have that fiber as pristine as possible so that we don't have to rinse later.
Hey, and we got a question down here, right? You still have a question? Okay.
I just want to add real quickly, I'm sorry. You can straight encapsulate with a Fiber Plus pad, and if there's a particularly problematic area, you can pull that Fiber Plus or whatever pad you want to run and put down an absorbent pad and hit that 10 square foot area or just that entryway to absorb up. And that does miracles to really get that dark shadow out.
Okay, and then Damon, did you have a point you wanted?
No.
You're good? Okay, sir.
Do you guys see any problem with using an encapsulating product after hot water extraction as an anti-resoiling agent for areas where there's been heavy spills? Maybe after the fact, after you've steam cleaned as a final?
I do that on our commercial restoration is what we call it. I'm not going to say that I would use it as a soil retardant. I would present it as more, we've aggressively cleaned the fiber, and what we're going to do now is we're going to polish it. If you have a particularly problematic carpet where you're going to get a lot of wicking, that polishing will really stop that wicking. I don't know how many people still see it, but back in the day when I started, not that it was that long ago, but you go into a commercial building that had been shampooed for X amount of years, and all the traffic patterns would be this funky yellow. You could literally hot water extract it, and 15 minutes later you would see all the wicking and the splotchiness, and all of a sudden that yellow was brighter than ever. InCap fixes that. If it's particularly bad, you go through, you extract it. I believe in polishing it off with that InCap, and it's awesome. And I think it's something that really adds value to the sales process if you can present it well.
So kind of that question too is do you incorporate hot water extraction, or does it become part of the maintenance, or do you just not do that at all? At all.
I think I'm the only one that does.
Yeah.
Commercially, most of my commercial I InCap. My testing grounds, every 3 or 4 years I go through and I extract it because I want to test it and I want to see what comes out of it, or I have a new tool that I want to test on a commercial carpet. Most of my commercial really doesn't see extraction. The one thing that we'll do is we have a few country clubs where there's just an incredible amount of food service and greasy, funky oil. And we'll go through and we do hot water extract those. And we do hit them with a polymer every time. And it's pretty amazing. I can remove the vast majority of that soil load. But until I hit it with the InCap as that polish is when it just goes pop.
Finishing with the InCap.
It just, yes. And again, that's when we'll go through, we'll pre-scrub it with a Cymex with our hot water extraction pre-spray. We use a zipper. It works amazingly well. Then we go through and with our OP machines, we'll hit it with an InCap, and those traffic patterns disappear, the splotchiness in a restaurant that's had the wear patterns really wear in, and the grease is penetrated almost into the backing. You'll see those traffic patterns just really pop.
Okay, let's get, okay.
So are you saying once you get done with your hot water extraction, you completely clean the place with your hot water extraction method, and you go back in and you spot areas with it with a normal Cymex or I have a Cymex and I have a Butler. So you do your normal cleaning And in those areas where you have a trash carpet where you feel end capping would be beneficial, you just go back through the same job again with the normal pads and the release it and the DS and the whole.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a lot less moisture because your fibers are already wet.
Okay.
But I'm looking to put down a product that is going to grab any of the soils that want to wick, or to remove the last of that really tough soil. Yes.
So you won't be able to see, like in a normal application when you start dry, you can see, like you say, that light film or that light that you're applying it properly. How do you really know once the carpet is wet and you're applying it? Just trigger it every once in a while?
Quite honestly, I don't use the Cymex for that.
Okay.
I use the OP, which has a spray.
Okay.
So I'll either turn down the flow, or there's times on certain jobs that I'm literally hitting it like if I was going to end cap it. I'm hitting it that heavily.
Are there people that actually use an end cap type spray as their rinse agent?
There are a number of manufacturers that...
Because I'm hearing it, but I don't understand the concept other than to put it in the tank.
There are manufacturers that do that. I tested one, and unfortunately, my truck got so hot that it congealed inside the lines and my quick connects and all that kind of good stuff. And I found out that polymer wasn't supposed to get that hot. The reality with InCap is it's all about the solids left, and if you're extracting, it's pretty difficult to build enough solid to really encapsulate effectively. Again, that's my take.
Any other thoughts on that from you guys? No? Okay. All right, let's get gentleman right here.
We use a lot of rotary scrubbers to scrub in our pre-spray, right? And on Olufsen Berber, we'd make sure it was very wet so we wouldn't melt the stuff. Any issues with using encapsulation, low moisture on Olufsen Berber?
I'm going to say lubricate, but...
No, you should be fine with that. I see no issue.
Because it's perfect, in my opinion, for that.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's get Kate and the gentleman in the front.
Hi, I was just wondering, I'm a hot water extraction carpet cleaner, but have done demos with the dry compound. And that just blew my mind. That literally blew my mind. So I brought that into homes. I'm like, no, this needs to come into a home with me. I'm from Denver. A lot of people didn't have much direction to give me because it seemed like I was the only one that wanted to offer this as a maintenance program in a home for rugs that only get cleaned every 4 years. Are we, when we're using these compounds, are you voiding any type of warranty on the carpet? Are you damaging? And I did it on wool. I've used it on wool rugs, and it just blew my mind what it took out. The client was amazed. That's why I'm sitting through this. So.
Sure. Dry compound, as far as I know, is recommended by all carpet manufacturers. I don't think there's anybody that says you can't use it or that it's damaging. Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I use dry compound in residential all the time. I don't use truck mount, so I just extract, but I work with carpet cleaners all the time that are hot water extraction guys that swear now. I mean, 10 years ago, they would probably tell me to kick rocks, but now they say, oh, every truck mount guy needs to have one of these machines so you can pre-scrub, pre-agitate, use less water, that sort of thing right there. But you shouldn't have any problems with warranty issues at all on compound at all. As far as I know, I mean, I've never, at one point when there was 150 carpet manufacturers, we were recommended by all of them. So, so I don't think you should have any issues. I've been doing it for 22 years. I've never had an issue or warranty issue with compound, ever.
All right, excellent. And okay.
I'm on the Facebook on Carpet Cleaners page, and there's a guy on there, one guy I know of, saying that the Grumpy can do work as fast as 2 Cymexes. Are there anybody else out there that is making that claim, or is it just that one guy?
It's true, and if it comes from the internet, you can believe it. It's true.
That was good.
Just kidding.
Actually, yes. There's several, and a lot of them we don't post, just because it causes more trouble than it's worth. I will tell you now. I don't know how many of you know Ashley McKendry. He's a real hoot. He lives in my area. He's second generation. He uses every method out there. He loves the zipper, etc. Anyway, he used 2 Grumpies to replace 2 Orbots and 3 Cymexes. And then just for fun, we brought out this machine to introduce this year called the Eraser. Well, then he went and did Lexmark, the printer place there in Lexington, and the Eraser was faster than 2 Grumpies. So basically what he could do was he could do the work of 5 men with 1 machine. And that's profit. And that's what he's about. Now, we get a lot of comments like that, but we don't publish them. People got, like I said earlier, you test for yourself. And if you have a friend that uses the machine, go with him. Test for yourself. Don't believe one of us. Believe your eyes.
Yeah. Good question, sir. Do you guys have the question?
First of all, let me tell you, Grumpy's an OP machine. We're at booth 508. My dad's name was Gerald, and him and I were in this, he passed away 7 years ago, but we started together in 74. My dad was one of the most humorous guys you'd ever meet. But he wore a hat that said Grumpy. When he turned it sideways, he was the most obstinate son of a gun you could imagine. So last year was our 40th year in business, and we named it after Grumpy. But it's over there. You can have a look at it.
Sir?
I just had a quick question. Why does a lot of people after, let's just say you NCAP or whatever, they always want to say, I need a truck mount afterwards? Why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I have an extractor, and you don't need an extractor afterwards.
So NCAP is just, it's just good to use this with the rotary. It'll be fine. You don't need to extract it afterwards.
You can, but I would not use an NCAP product to scrub in and then extract. We use pre-spray to scrub in and then extract. And then if I'm going to use an NCAP product, it's going to be at the end. I do use NCAP spotters, but I wouldn't use an NCAP product to scrub in.
Now, is it NCAP just really for low moisture and not for truck mounts? Or it could just be vice versa? Or because you guys use an agent and then a rinse on the truck mount? Does it make sense?
I wouldn't use a encapsulating pre-spray unless there was a specific purpose. I did have a conversation a while back with Rick, and it was a great idea. I thought he came out with his OP machine, and he was talking about agitating in with an encapsulant, and you basically go and scrub the whole thing, and then you'd pull out your truck mount and extract the high traffic patterns. I thought that was a novel idea, but I wouldn't use an encapsulant as a pre-spray. I think you're kind of defeating the purpose.
Okay. Kelly, do you have anything to add? I saw you're like...
No, I agree 100%. I mean, the point of the polymer is to dry and harden and be able to extract the dirt. So to rinse that with, it just wouldn't. It's kind of just like with the compound, where we use a pre-spray, not an end cap, because we're going to pull it right out with the compound. So it doesn't. It's not going to sit and actually harden. It's going to pull out before it's ever even going to do what it's supposed to do. So it's a little lackluster to try to do it that way. So,
you don't ever need to extract when you have an end cap.
Right.
It depends on the situation of the soil. I mean, I'm going to say never is a pretty tough word. Most of the time, I don't think. Again, my opinion. I'm not going to say they're wrong by any means, but if you're using an end cap, most of the time you don't need to extract.
Well, a lot of people say that after a while it builds up. Is that even true? For the end cap, it builds up after a while. You need a truck mount once or
Yeah, okay. Two things. It depends, first of all, on the end cap product. Number two, what are you getting done with your end cap product when you clean your carpet? In other words, are you getting the end cap mixed in with the carpet, but there's still a lot on the fiber? Yes, it will build up and you will have to extract it down the road. If you have the agitation and you are getting everything stripped from the fiber, no, you will not ever have to do it. Like I was saying, we have Jif peanut butter. It's on 11 years, done once a month, full of peanut oil. It's always been straight end cap, never been extracted. But if we were using something that would not get it agitated like we did, in time, maybe every year or two, you'd want to rinse it. So it really depends the quality of the end capping you're getting done with the machine you're using and the quality of the product. Whether it has a heavy enough crystal that when you have that mixture, that it will dry, expand and shatter and come out as particulate soil.
Okay, now what about end cap dust? A lot of people are saying that if it's not clear and it's maybe a milky, it's end cap dust, and it kind of...
Yeah, when you vacuum up end cap, you're normally going to see kind of a beige-colored, very fine dust. That's what you want.
It says Bonnet Pro doesn't do end cap dust, but it's clear. It shows it in the video.
Haven't tried Bonnet Pro. I don't know. It might be clear, but it's still there. Either he has a polymer or he doesn't.
Yeah, well, it doesn't show on camera.
The show, in other words, are you talking about being in the air or just being there?
As it floats in the air. Like
Okay, well, if you have a good vacuum, you're not going to have it floating in the air. And if it's clear, it really wouldn't matter. It's still there. I mean, if you don't have a good vacuum and it's going airborne, whether it's clear or beige really doesn't matter. It's doing the same thing.
The color's coming from the soil.
Yeah.
The soil's in the fiber. The soil's in the fiber already. So I don't think that really makes a big difference because the soil's in the fiber.
Not air quality?
It's what you're taking. You're taking the soil, which is in the fiber, and if he's saying that his encapsulant comes up clear, then I'm really going to say, okay, well then where did the soil go? If you're using an encapsulant, you've got soil on your fiber, you're putting a detergent, an encapsulant, to break down the soil. The whole point of encapsulation is that polymer or that cleaning agent is going to take that soil, surround it, encapsulate it, so that you can remove it.
Yeah, of course.
If he's saying his product is clear, then where did the soil go? How? Well, I think we're kind of splitting hairs there. It's no matter what we do.
If you're in California and you're in capping Adobe, it's going to be red. Okay, I mean, it is what it is. But clear doesn't make sense to me either unless you got some kind of clear dirt. Because if you're encapsulating, first of all, the fiber's coated, the dirt's coated. So they no longer stick to each other, and that's one reason it vacuums out so easy. But if we're saying what's coming out is clear, I got a problem with that because, like I said, where did the dirt go?
Yeah, because they do show up videos where they use an end cap dust, and then his product, his doesn't go up in the air and just go all over the place. That other end cap does, and it just filters the air.
Okay, well, when you vacuum a carpet, whether it's dirty, whether you're end capped or not, you're vacuuming all this up. If you don't have a good filter on your vacuum, you're throwing it all over the house. Yeah. Same thing with end cap dust. Either your vacuum is catching it or not.
So I'm just talking about air quality.
Sure. It's not a problem as long as you have a good vacuum.
Okay. All right. Good. Let's move. We got another question, or go ahead.
Okay.
Good
You were
discussion,
talking
I like
about
that.
Carpets with a lot of grease, very heavy soil. I think it was a restaurant or something, and you had to hot water extraction that first. Can't you start out with an end cap and end with an end cap and not hot water extract it at all and get good results?
We do. And it all depends on what you're using there again for chemicals. We may use a little hotter pre-spray on a restaurant where we mist it on ahead of time, let it sit about 20 minutes. Then we use our Pad Cap Pro and a fiber pad and we'll cut it right through it. Again, and this is why I say I don't care if it's residential, commercial, whether we're talking restaurants, end cap either works or it doesn't. The question is, have you put in enough product and agitated it enough to where you have made a soup of all this, what's dirty and the water, and the chemical. If you have enough polymer and you've stripped the fiber, it will end cap. It will vacuum out. But your job is to make sure you get the fiber stripped. And the best way to do that, Bridgepoint sells a little microscope for $12. You can put your cell phone to it and take a picture. And you can test before vacuuming, after vacuuming, clean and dry. You have your own pictures, your own proof. You don't have to listen to what anybody says. You can see for yourself.
Okay, all right, good. Hey, how much does post vacuuming play? Like you've come and you've end capped, but say it's a commercial resident and they don't do a very good job just maintaining their vacuuming.
You want the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. That is up to the customer. It is up to the customer. Okay, say you go in, you're end capping, your carpet's not quite dry, but I always vacuum anyway. But I'm not vacuuming up any end cap. I'm vacuuming up the lint that's left over. Now, your customer can vacuum it up, and they'll have a nice, beautiful carpet. They cannot vacuum it up, and they'll have a nice, beautiful carpet, but all the crap goes down below the carpet. If I laid carpet 16 years. What happens when you pull up the carpet? There's the junk. So people want a healthy home, they vacuum. The ones that don't, they got dirt underneath the carpet. But I will say this, both ways it's out of play. The carpet itself can be perfectly clean, and this junk at the bottom, and it's going to continue. I just did a video not long ago. A friend of mine told me that not much dirt will go through the backing of today's carpets. So I took the carpet, vacuumed it all up, swept underneath, left the video on so you can see it was in real time, ran the OP machine over it, pulled the carpet up, and got a nice little mound of dirt that I showed it. That's where it goes, right through. So it's up to the customer. If the customer likes filthy, they won't vacuum, it'll be underneath. But the carpet will be just as clean as the person who vacuums it and takes it out. So it's kind of like a goofy little secret.
Yeah, good point. Any other thoughts, Damon?
So, in capping after encapsulating, there's no point. The ink cap's wet. It's not going to shatter. It's not going to pop off the fiber. One thing I want to add about vacuuming, as professionals, our job is to go in and make a presentation to a client and offer a service that's going to be in our client's best interest. As professionals, if we go into a facility, a home, all we can do is to do everything we can within the scope of work that client expects to deliver that best end result. If we're going to go into a building, a home, and provide a service, and our client isn't going to do their part in terms of a regular maintenance vacuuming and take all the steps that they can to give the best result, there's only so much we can do. You go into a carpet that's impacted with soil. We're talking just insane amounts of soil. There's only so much we can do. And as professionals, whether we're hot water extracting, we're end capping, I think our biggest responsibility is to set up that relationship to succeed. And we start that relationship as consulting with the client. Hey, we can do our part, but this is what I need from you so that we can restore your carpets back up to that level.
Any other thoughts on that?
I just got one thing to add is, we go into most customers, they have it done once a year. Let's just say on the average. We can do all we can, but your once a year is not going to fix their vacuuming problem. If they, like I say, when you got people who care, those customers are wonderful. They're easy to take care of. When you got those that don't, you give them the best product you can, but don't ever think you can fix all their years of neglect, right? We're not there for that. We're there to clean carpet. In fact, I've always told people, say, well, my friend said it looks like new. I says, no, that you pay by the yard. Now, we try to make every carpet look as new as possible, but I want them in their mind to understand we're cleaning what they did to the carpet. They did it also. Some carpets, especially these new guys, I see they feel they're on the hook if they can't get a carpet clean. I don't care if it's a bleach spot. It could be anything. Never let the customer forget that they made this carpet in this shape, because then they have a totally different perspective. Don't let them put it on you. You're there to fix their problems.
Kelly?
I find too the most important part of what me and my employees do is the walkthrough when we get there. And we ask every client, we say, can you please give us a tour of the house, the areas we're going to clean, and point out any troubled spots. And the first thing I do is you can always tell if it's been faded, if they've tried to use something on it already, the red stain's kind of pink. I know they're probably not going to come out, so I think that education and putting it where it belongs, I find that if my employees don't do that, and they wait till the end of the job, then they're going around and explaining why everything didn't come out, and the tone is different. If you point it out in the beginning of the job and say, we'll do our best, I could probably lighten this up, but you already tried to clean this, and, sometimes you only get one shot to get a stain out right. I think that's super important, that walkthrough. Without that, you're doing a lot of explaining, in my opinion.
They're excuses.
Yeah.
If you're not heading that off beforehand, it's an excuse after the fact. Whereas if you hit it at the beginning, you're the professional. Carry yourself that way. Be very honest. Experience gives you the ability to set an expectation, and that's, I think, of the utmost importance. No matter how you clean, no matter who you're working for.
All right, good point. We're about 4 minutes left. Any other, probably have time for one or two. Let's get this gentleman up front. He hasn't had a question. Sure.
You want to grab that microphone so everybody can...
There you go.
Yay. Just an equipment question. You're all using OP machines, I'm assuming.
Three of us.
I use a counter-rotating
CRP
machine.
Okay. And on the OP machines, what's your go-to machine of each of you?
One that's...
I actually use both. In residential, I use the CRB and the Orbot, so I incorporate both machines. When we go in, we typically run the CRB first. It helps pull debris, dirt out of the carpet that a vacuum cleaner normally cannot. We then follow with the vacuum and then pre-spray and OP clean. In my opinion, that really maximizes results in the residential setting. It adds more time to the job, but you get amazing results that way. So each machine has a benefit. You should have both. If you're a low moisture cleaner, you should have a CRB machine. You should have an OP machine. Both will serve you well. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about the rest of you?
What am I supposed to say?
John uses an order.
I'm running for president. Vote for me. Yeah, we have several machines, but we have the Grumpy that covers most everything, but it's heavy to take upstairs. So a lot of people will have a Freedom, which is a lot easier to take upstairs. But the reason why I am so pro these machines is they are 2 and 3 times more agitation than all the others. Like I said, we've been building machines for forever. We started off with 1/4 inch oscillation. Everybody had that. Then we moved to 3/8 oscillation. Chris will remember 40% faster cleaning. Everybody denied it. Now they're all at 3/8 oscillation. So then I went on to a 3-speed and expanded it way out and patented it. So at least 20 years I got bragging rights.
All right, got 2 minutes, so Damien and then Kelly.
I have a lot of stuff. I have a Cymex. I have a Whittaker cylindrical brush machine. I have 3 CX machines. And I have quite a few rotaries. My favorite rotary is dual speed. CXOP? Yes.
Okay, because there's other CXs.
Oh, yeah, CXOP. And then my favorite of the rotaries is a dual speed swing scrubber, which I think the dual speed is an awesome scrubber, especially for scrubbing, pre-scrubbing residential.
All right, Kelly?
I use strictly counter-rotating brush machines. We use a little tile and grout, and we'll use oscillating pad machines. But for carpet itself, all I use is CRBs. And when we get the calls, and we've got the trashed out Chinese restaurants, Demian lives down the road from me, so I just give him his number. So call Demian.
You know, it's kind of a weird question here because first name again?
No.
Kelly. Kelly and I are in kind of a weird position here. all these years, people would say, well, why do you just use one? He sells these machines. He's got to know how to make that machine work in all situations. I don't know you personally, but I doubt you're opposed to any other cleaning. Well, exactly the same here. However, we build OP machines, so it's incumbent on us to find a way to make that machine do it all. So we get accused of being real biased, but it's really our job to learn how to use this machine so we can best benefit the customers. It's not because we're opposed to anything else. Absolutely not. Clean carpet's clean carpet, happy customer, you got a good business, end of story. But when we're up here, I'm going to be, it's OP, and he's got to be the cylindrical brush machine. These two guys are cleaners. We use everything.
So just to finish up, because we're out of time, but if you've got more questions, Kelly, what booth are you at?
We are right there.
So
I don't know the number.
They're right there. You walk out, they're right there.
Right behind the transit, right there.
Damien, you're roaming around, or you at a booth?
Sure.
You're roaming around.
Grab me.
And then John, where are you at?
We're in 508.
508. So you got more questions on that?
I'm wandering around. We're going to lunch.
Damien's wandering around.
Find me down there.
Take him to lunch. So thank you very much, panelists. And audience, excellent questions. Thank you very much.